mental illness. As you know, we have COVID. COVID is a big weak link as well. COVID is out there, mental illness. I am a mental illness instructor. I am a crisis intervention officer where I train other crisis intervention officers on how to deal with the mentally ill. And what I am involved in, I'm in a coalition where they have medical doctors, psychiatrists, and also therapists that's going to really offer the mental therapy that the inmates as well as the workers, the employees that work there need, because a lot of times, you know, it's so many issues that goes on and you don't never know what a person might be going through. I want to be able to open back up the jail that's downtown, and I want to house the female inmates in that jail downtown. I want to house the misdemeanor inmates in that jail downtown. I want to also house the COVID inmates while they're ill downtown in separate little areas. So right now you have 1 to 3 deputies with 60 plus inmates. That's too much going on in that workstation in Hinds. So I want to be able to provide, you know, that when I come inside. See, I have a lot of people that I'm affiliated with that's going to be able to be beneficial. It's about fresh new ideas. It's about putting somebody in position that's going to get the job done. It's the position is bigger than the position for me. It's about what can I do as far as the fresh new ideas to help better serve the citizens and also the people that work inside the jails and also rehabilitate the inmates.
The weak link right now, I feel, is youth activities. You know, we're talking between ages 16 and 24. We have to create our programs. We have to bring the programs back. If you look at the Sheriff's Department back in the 90s and the early 2000s, we didn't have this problem because we had programs for kids. We had programs for youth. And I say 24, but I'm reaching out to some 26-year-old men and women that just maybe still on the edge of the youth or acting like a youth. We have to bring the programs back. Most of what you're seeing is youth that have nothing to do. I want to recreate the programs. I want to bring the programs back. And I'm talking about programs in the city all the way throughout my rural area. As your sheriff, I'm going to lobby hard for grants to bring these programs back. And these are the same programs that was here under Sheriff Malcolm McMillan, where they had a program throughout this county for everybody, youth and seniors.
As sheriff, I will implement a number of things that can help us along the way through law enforcement. One way is expanding our investigation division at the Sheriff Department to assist the Jackson Police Department with investigating violent crimes here in the capital city. The capital city is the point where we need to focus at. We need to grassroots the problems here in the city to prevent the crime from spreading throughout the county. So I would increase our investigation division so we, as the Sheriff Department, will investigate homicides, kidnappings, carjackings, shooting into occupied dwellings and vehicles, armed robbery of an individual and businesses, suicide investigation, as well as other violent crimes such as bank robberies. If we look at the truth of the matter, the city of Jackson totes the bulk of the inmates that are housed at the Hinds County Detention Center. One reason that we are overcrowded and not being able to push pretrial inmates through the system is we have only 4 circuit court judges. And that's a problem when you're dealing with a large number of pretrial inmates. 4 judges throughout the county is not enough judges to hear 1,000 cases that may be on the docket. That's a conversation I will have to sit down and converse with DA Owens about and the Hinds County Board of Supervisors to allocate funds to have special judges to come in and hear the backlog of cases to push our pretrial inmates through the system to get them to the Mississippi Department of Corrections.
Well, there are several weak links. one thing people need to realize is the sheriff's office is just one spoke in the wheel of the justice system, okay? You've got the district attorney's office, you've got judges. They've all got to start working together. If you notice, most of these crimes that are being committed are by repeat offenders, okay? The state law says, take it like this. If you're arrested for a felony and you bond out, which is your right. Now, you get arrested by another felony charge that's punishable by 5 years or more, then the law says that the district attorney's office shall revoke your first bond. It doesn't say we might or we may think about it. It says you shall. There's a breakdown in this process, and repeat offenders keep having the opportunity to keep repeating crimes without being held accountable for their actions.
Wow. That is a loaded question. And when I look at the totality of our criminal justice system, not just in Jackson, because see, unlike most of my competitors, I have police outside of Jackson, outside of Mississippi. So the complexity of policing, I think I have a broader sense of that because all my experiences are not just in one place. When I look at Jackson, I look at our criminal justice system, and I feel that there's a lot of work which needs to be done. I look at our detention center. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. I look at our inability to get cases prosecuted. I look at our inability to house misdemeanor offenses. I look at our inability to get the proper number of public defenders for individuals who are incarcerated. I look at our inability to get mental health evaluations, which are required for a large number of our defendants who are within our detention center. It's just like a bottle. And with the bottom being the biggest part of it, our system is bottleneck right at the top because there's so many components that makes up our entire system. So as the sheriff, it will be my responsibility to address so that, okay, I look at the detention center as being one of the biggest responsibility your sheriff will have. In order to move that process, everything else on the top has to move. The correctional, being prosecuting cases, be it getting mental health evaluation, being it getting counseling for the individuals, all that makes up our criminal justice system. So that means I will have to work within the system at each level of that. In those areas that I can impact as your sheriff, I will have to do that. Be it go talk with the judges as it relates to moving the cases along. Be it seek out additional assistance for mental health evaluation so that I know at the time, right now, probably 60%, and that may be a high number, of the individuals incarcerated, let's say 40, 50%, needs mental evaluation. If you have a system such as Hinds County where you're relying on the state mental health system to evaluate these people, they only have 60 odd slots, and you have 200 people that needs evaluation, you're gonna have a bottleneck. It's not going to flow. So we would need to seek out additional funding so that we can probably, hire outside mental health counselors to do these assessments. Okay, then we're going to have to work closely with the prosecutor's office because we know that the DA's office prosecutes the case. Do they have enough prosecutors? And then let's not forget one of the most important part of this whole equation is our inability to get evidence processed through our crime lab. It's backed up 4 or 5 years. So when you talk about our criminal justice system as it relates to Hinds County, You have at least, I have named about 5 or 6 moving parts. Each one of those parts has to be working together. And as the sheriff of Hinds County, I will have to get involved with each phase of that in order to get the system to move. So to shorten his answer, okay, suppose we are able to get our mental evaluation, but we do not have the DAs to prosecute the case, or we cannot get on a court docket because they do not have public defenders. So when we talk about our criminal justice system, one needs to be knowledgeable that it's not just a detention center. It's made up of different components. Okay?
There are programs for rehabilitation for those who have committed crimes. And some people need a second chance. There's a second chance program out there, and I do plan to utilize those programs because I believe that everyone needs a second chance. And once they have that second chance, not only in the workplace, but also living in society, period, and learning how to manage their bank accounts, learning how to manage their monies, paying their bills, being responsible. And I think once a person has been incarcerated and they're back out in society, they actually need that extra boost to help them get along, so they can mingle in with society and show them a better way of living. So there are programs out there for that, and I intend to utilize it.
Well, the sheriff is the jailer of the county. First and foremost, the jailer must have a safe facility. Must have. That's going to require a working relationship with the Board of Supervisors. Next, the sheriff must have a good working relationship with the county prosecutor, as well as the county judges. When you have situations, and it often arises in Hinds County, of overcrowding, we work very, very closely with the Hinds County prosecutor to take the non-violent offenders that we can move out and get them out. But our biggest issue are what we call SMIs, seriously mental ill. When you get someone in there that's considered an SMI, or someone starts or makes a statement that I'm feeling suicidal or homicidal, what you got to do, you got to go to the judge, you got to go to the prosecutor and see what we can do to get this person out. Because the Hinds County Jail is in a situation where we cannot move forward with the prosecution of individuals that's suffering from mental illness because of the lack of beds that's allotted to this particular region. We got about 10 beds allotted, and they're full. So you may get a person that come in that's considered as an SMI, seriously mental ill, that may sit there for literally years. We got to do something to get the courts, to get the state to help us to get out of this quagmire.
It goes back to your original question. Without a facility to put people, no matter how insignificant the crime is, misdemeanor to a felony, if you don't have a place to lock people up, then the process can't be the process. It starts with being able to lock people up for crime. Then RDC, let's be very clear, RDC is a pretrial detention center. So you're to be there before, and then go before a judge, and the judge decides your fate one way or the other. Either you're going on to other pastures, to the penitentiary, or you're being put on probation, ankle monitor system, or you're being relieved of any charges on you whatsoever. But first and foremost, you have to have a facility to facilitate the crime at hand. And then the process goes on through the DA. The DA presents it, and then the judge renders a decision. But it has to go through the process of starting with being able to incarcerate people who run afoul of the law.
Well, when I was with Malcolm McMillan, I was lieutenant in investigations. I used to he'd call me in whenever there was an issue in the city. I was always his go-to guy. He'd call me in and said, Les, we're having a problem in this area or this part of town in Jackson or Hinds County. I need you to deal with it. I'd go in, I would come up with a crime strategy to deal with the problem. I'd put together a task force made up of our reserve officers, local agencies, and come into the city, and we do whatever needs to be done to take care of the problem. And usually with successful results, we usually net multiple arrests, stolen property, and whatever. But I think there's a serious breakdown in communications between all the departments. The Hinds County Sheriff's Department needs to work with the Jackson Police Department. The Jackson Police Department needs to work with the Hinds County Sheriff's Department. It's a joint deal. We're all in this together. But the sheriff does not need the chief's permission or the mayor's permission to come into the city of Jackson and do the job. They have the same jurisdiction inside the city of Jackson as the police department does. They can write tickets, make arrests, enforce any laws that's on the books. The only thing the sheriff's department can't do inside the city of Jackson is enforce city ordinances such as the open container law. So I just think a better spirit of cooperation, everybody working together, everybody realizing that Jackson can be great. It's got the potential. We've just got to do it. But the main thing that holds us back is high crime, and all law enforcement agencies within this county need to work together, have a better spirit of cooperation to bring this change about.
Well, the weak link of this change and how the sheriff office can help is that you have to get with certain judges and higher officials again. The one that by law and can move inmates, the one that been convicted, get them sent to the facilities of MDOC, the one detainees that are waiting per se on their trial. But again, you still have to get involved with higher officials to move about, to place your inmates and detainees in certain safe environment to get this problem solved. We can solve it as the people, but you got to get involved, and everyone must work together as a whole. It don't take 9/11 for you to come together. You should be together already. If we're going to resolve this for Jackson, Hinds, and the whole community, each and every person.
Well, really, it's not a weak link. It's the laws that's placed on the books that hinder everything. It's due justice and timely justice. That's what we have to work on. Once a person get arrested, bonded out, given a bond, and then the link become between him being seen and sentenced, and that's where our weak links are. We all have to work together. But due to this virus, it done slowed everything down. So, and due to the funding, it done slowed everything down. So really, everything is weak right now. But we still have to grab it, catch it, and drive forward.
Okay. Well, the weak link in that chain at this particular point, I would say, is the court system. As you know, some of these individuals, they sit in jail because, of course, we house pretrial detainees with the Hinds County Sheriff's Office. Sometimes they sit in jail for years before they are brought to trial or before they are brought up for some type of sentencing if they decide to plead guilty. So you have to have that open line of communication with the Hinds County District Attorney's Office as well as the judges, because you want to continue to decrease the numbers in your detention facilities as well. So you have to have that open line of communication between the different entities involved in the criminal justice system. Now, of course, we don't have any say-so as it relates to when someone will go to trial or what decision will be made about the fate of the charges that they may have. But as long as you are communicating with these other entities, then you will know exactly what it is that you need to do to handle your agency as well. Now, as it relates to rehabilitation, I am completely for rehabilitation in certain instances. You know, I am about having some type of services provided to rehabilitate certain offenders. But again, this is where you have to involve the community and you have to have other stakeholders on board as it relates to that, because of course, the Hinds County Sheriff's Office cannot solely rehabilitate someone, but if you have a partnership or a working relationship with other stakeholders, this is a service that you could possibly be involved in as well.
I think the best way to answer that question is look at the three tiers of of criminal justice. Criminal justice is made up of law enforcement, the judicial branch, and then correctional branch. I think where the failure is coming in at is that we have not made it a priority to be tough on crime in the judicial branch of that system. I think we have to send a strong message to criminals that the terrorism, the domestic terrorism that is occurring at Payson and Jackson will not be tolerated. That means we need to stiffen the sentences. That means that we need to adopt the model of crime control. There are two models that govern criminal justice based on our data and teachings, and that is the crime control model and due process model. The due process model, I believe, has ran its course. The reason why I know that, because crime is escalating all over the country. That means that we're going to have to get tough on crime. That's where the crime control model comes in. That means law enforcement and the judges have to be in lockstep to send a strong message to the criminal element that we're not going to tolerate being terrorized in our community. That's the first thing. So we need stiffer sentences. Then we move to the correctional side of the house. The correctional side of the house has been broken for quite some time. The only thing that's happening in the correctional system from my vantage point is that we're running adult daycare centers. We're trying to make detainees and criminals comfortable in a jail setting. That should not be our first focus. Our first focus should be rehabilitation. And that rehabilitation should be from an educational standpoint. We should get these folks in these confined quarters, put them in a classroom setting, incentivize them getting some type of degree, a diploma, or something while they're incarcerated, meaning that they're using their times wisely to become more productive citizens. What that looks like is we should put together a GED program within the confines of the walls. And if, in fact, that a nonviolent offender obtains his GED or high school equivalency, they should be allowed to have some of their sentence reduced. Again, those are nonviolent offenders. And same thing, criteria with nonviolent offenders. If they get a vocational or technical degree while incarcerated, more time should be shaved off their time. I think that incentivizes them going into a school, a classroom setting and getting those type of certificates. But the main thing from that does is it gives them opportunity to earn a living wage once they get out of prison. Therefore, they cannot have to decide whether I need to commit criminal acts in order to live. So I just think that we should be better about rehabilitation. And from the judicial, that's in the correctional side, and the judicial side, we need to be tough on these sentences.